The time being 6:41, we'll call to order Tuesday, November 14th, planning board meeting. Do we have people?
We do, yes. We have Jeremy Perkins and Lori Perry. Jeremy was first in line, I guess. If that works for you, Chairman.
Oh, fine by me. Come on up and down.
What happened to our chairs?
Minutes.
We're doing minutes?
They were all gone.
That's it. I have one right here.
That's fine.
All right.
Oh, it must have been the fire committee?
Something like that. Here, I'll just give a quick kind of rundown from what I think the reason Jeremy's here is through a conversation that he's been having with Al. 30 Jacob Road is in the rural agricultural district. He wants to have some commercial activity there. And last time we talked, a few months ago, my understanding was that it was, it could be described as a landscaping business. And we don't have a landscaping business, line item on the charter permitted uses. So I thought, I don't know, what's listed in the rural agricultural is forestry, silviculture, things that touch on landscaping, but thought we really needed the board to make a call on whether what he's doing is in compliance with the charter permitted uses, and if not, how he needs to proceed. The other thing, there's some storage containers there, but I believe that's really not a plan board matter in that his plan, I think, is to either secure a temporary permit to get those there one more year, or to get a special exception through the zoning boards. So that's kind of a quick introduction. I don't know if you want to fill in with some more details.
So I do landscaping and I do tree work, and I also sell firewood. So I process the firewood on this piece of property. So I don't really have any customers showing up, I don't have any extra vehicles in or out other than my own. And I park a couple trailers there from my landscaping business. And then I bring my lawnmowers and stuff home at night, it's out in the morning. And I have 2 employees usually that meet me there every morning and leave that every afternoon. And I have 2 storage containers there until I build my garage across the street, which is where I live at 31 Jacob Road. And then I won't have the storage containers. And my landscape stuff will be down back in my garage on my piece of property on one side. Built my garage.
Any questions, input, thoughts?
Studying.
Looking up the chart.
So after you have this garage, all it's gonna be left is the tree cutting?
Yeah, and maybe a couple of trailers, but all my equipment will be in my garage.
That's all the equivalent for your landscaping business? Or
Yeah, like I have just my lawnmowers will be in my garage.
across the
Instead of-
street?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
My farm tractor and my small wood processor will still be over there, obviously producing firewood.
Yeah.
You just talking about the water somewhere?
I got a little tiny wood conveyor that sits on the back of my 3-point hitch on my tractor. Yep.
So home business is permitted in rural agriculture.
Yes.
It does, you're right, it doesn't say, there isn't anything close really to landscaping.
What page is it on?
It's, second to the last page of the permitted uses.
Although, now, if I may, what Mr. Perkins is describing is maybe that there actually won't be a landscaping business there, or am I hearing that right, or? 'Cause
Well, so the property at 30 Jacob Road is my neighbor's property, but he allows me to use his field. And my property is at 31 Jacob Road, so, I mean, essentially it's gonna move across the street.
Okay,
But I don't have room to park my 3 trailers and a couple pieces of my sander and snowplow stuff at the moment on my side.
Is it considered commercial if it's people aren't coming in or out?
He's running a business.
Well, there's
He's running a business.
outdoor storage,
It's not residential.
there's outdoor storage of one commercial vehicle permitted.
Where,
Um,
non-residential?
No, under residential, number 5.
Is that the last page?
Yeah,
Page 5.
Yeah, that's your coming home from work vehicle, right?
but it doesn't specify it's one commercial vehicle.
Yeah, outdoor storage of one commercial vehicle. Use of a portion of a dwelling or accessory building in conjunction with an off-premise occupation, special exception.
Where do you see that?
That's 4.
So you'd have to go to zoning for special exceptions.
Well, it's a portion of a building or dwelling or accessory building. Doesn't say land, but I suppose it's the same thing.
What's that you're talking about, Catherine? Sorry?
On the last page, number 4, use of a portion of a dwelling or accessory building in conjunction with an off-premise occupation is a special exception. In RA. I don't see anything where it's not permitted.
Will be interesting.
A commercial fully enclosed within a building and occupying less than 3,000 square feet of floor area is not permitted.
But that's under the heading of,
Commercial.
fully enclosed.
It's not a home occupation because he's conducting it off-site.
So you're saying personal and business services? Or the,
No,
or
I mean
the
commercial.
retail sales?
I'd say it's a zoning board question.
Um,
How many vehicles do you have?
They just pickup trucks, I mean, I don't know. I
You
got
have 5 of them? You have
three that are mine, and then my 2 employees pull in one morning and it's all at night. Some days they don't even come there, sometimes they leave me on the job site, it just depends on.
Sometimes they just don't show up.
No, you have to use just a straight commercial one.
Which some are parked at my property, and sometimes they're parked in the field, it's just.
Hmm.
Didn't know you were coming in to play Stump the Panel, did you?
No offense, but I've been through the zoning board before, and that wasn't fun. That's actually why all my stuff is home, because I was renting a building on Route 3 in the commercial district, and then I was told that that wasn't allowed either, so I moved all my stuff home. And now I have still to come see you guys, which is fine, I have no problem coming see you.
Well, we have a new zone, so maybe they don't bite as hard.
Yeah, they all quit because of me.
That's right.
There's some truth to that.
I am the guy.
It was a very well worded
I
letter.
forgot about that.
Well,
Try
I
for
rented
round
a-
two.
Yeah. Well, I rented a commercial place on Route 3 and
They gave him a variance and it was challenged. Well, I don't see anything here that permits it. Not that I'm looking for.
I'm looking.
I don't.
Do we have something that says
I mean,
it doesn't permit either?
It seems to me, if I could butt in here, I
It says
think,
special exception. Go ahead, Daria, I'm sorry.
no, sorry. You know, Al and I kind of looking at this, we really felt as though if it weren't, we didn't see anything other than, I think, you know, going to the zoning board for a variance if it didn't qualify as one of those uses under agricultural. So, you know, that, just to kind of give you guys where we wound up.
It's not a farming and agricultural operation as defined by the state or our own ordinance.
That's what I'm looking now, I don't see anything about this under agriculture.
It's a farming. But I think it refers to the state anyway.
can I ask a silly question, Kathy?
Oh, it's
A
agriculture,
good one.
horticulture,
They're also, go ahead.
My, so like, I don't really run a business out, so I guess I'm just confused. I don't really run a business out of there, but like, the only thing I do for my business, other than park vehicles there, is my firewood operation, which is agricultural, I believe.
Well, it's
it's
under,
agriculture, horticulture, and animal husbandry.
it's forestry.
Animal husbandry comes in with the, all of the.
It's under silviculture, operation forestry. I'm here for,
You doubted me?
yeah, I'm shocked.
Don't be shocked. We have lots of missing definitions. I'm shocked that you're shocked. Add that to your list of definitions.
I just did.
Do we have forestry?
Forestry is under the agriculture section, silviculture. I can never say it. So, but your landscaping business,
Forestry.
its home is in the rural agricultural area. So in effect, you are conducting a commercial business in the rural agricultural area, which isn't allowed, unless it has to do with agriculture.
Because
Well,
it's part of
I
it.
cut trees.
But that's under the silviculture. Once you start mowing lawns, now you've just jumped in a whole new thing.
But he's not doing that at home.
You're not doing
He's
that.
not seeing clients at home.
Business
Not his
is,
vehicles,
his business is there. It's like, Dawson's Concrete. We don't do any business on Route 3. Everything we do is off-site, but the home base is there. So the business is being operated in, what is it, rural commercial? Yeah, RC, which is allowed, but you see what I mean? There's a lot of businesses that have a home. Well, almost every landscape business has a home, but it goes off-site and then comes back to home base. So home base is where the commercial operation is based.
Well, it makes
Business.
sense, because you're hauling equipment in and out, and it has to.
And that's exactly right. It's that in and out.
I understand why it should, the zoning is important. I mean, you get that, right? I mean, you're hauling equipment in and out, if it's a residential area, it may not fit with that area.
And if you look at the master plan, you'll get an idea of what that agriculture area is supposed to be. And it's not with commercial businesses being conducted in it.
It's not really, yeah.
Oh, this is commercial agriculture, commercial
It's
livestock.
not really,
This is commercial.
You know, you could put any asphalt you could put an asphalt company in rural agricultural area, you could put any excavation company.
So if somebody is a bus driver and they park their bus there, then do they have a busing business?
No.
No, because they're not the business, they're an employee.
If I may, I think the zoning ordinance is actually pretty clear on allowing one vehicle, but not allowing two. And acknowledging what Juliet just mentioned, the idea that people, they bring their work truck home, is, again, the zoning ordinance allows for that.
Right.
There is
and
a
then
designation.
We don't have anything like, if somebody drives home for lunch with their vehicle, I mean, I don't think we should get into like whether it's their home base or that kind of stuff.
But
You have to
if
go
you're
through this.
gonna put more than one, sorry, Ms. Dawson, go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no.
Why don't you just finish?
If you're gonna put more than one commercial vehicle on, the zoning ordinance provides for what you're talking about, again, but it sets a limit.
Yeah, that's
That
fine. We'll
one,
go with
so
that.
there's no problem with him going home for lunch in whatever vehicle he, he can bring a tank home for lunch.
Awesome.
Anyway,
So when I drive through town tomorrow, I'm like,
So basically,
that's it, just one.
so does he have to go to the
So, can I ask
zoning
one more
for a
question?
special exception?
Only one pickup truck is registered to my business. All the others are registered to me personally, so that they not become business vehicles.
Do you use them for your business?
Well, see, that's
We
what I
all
was
drive
honest.
to
He
work
said
in
I
a
had 3 or
vehicle,
4 of them.
to answer Chairman Tilton, I think it would be actually a variance.
Yeah, I think this is a, what do you guys think, zoning board?
Are you trying to avoid going to the zoning board?
I will go through whatever channel I have to, but
Okay.
I went through the zoning board and selectmen for 2 years, or a year for my other one that was on Route 3 that was not permitted. And then I sure out the other one, so.
So is that,
Yeah, we'll all come
Oh, yeah,
along.
if you read the master plan, you clearly can see that, commercial businesses are not.
Okay, so you wanna go talk to them
In there.
for a variance.
Okay.
Stop there. Go forth and don't make our board quit again.
I mean, I didn't really do anything other than show up.
yeah.
Some days it's all it takes for us to.
All it takes is one complaint.
So when is their next, when would be his time frame for that?
January, actually. They don't meet in December. Although, I mean, there is a requirement.
I thought they had to be at least once a month.
Yeah, it's always been they don't meet in. Let us, submit your application and we'll get you in. If you submit an application tomorrow, we'll probably have to have a December ZBA meeting.
Well, go ahead, that'll start off right, make them meet in December. That's
Yeah.
one way to please the board. There you
Good
go.
idea.
Yeah, but I think, Ms. Dawson's right.
That'll make friends.
You can't necessarily just say, we're not having a meeting in December.
Right.
If someone submits an application, they have to act on it.
Exactly.
Boy, there's a heavy one for you. Merry Christmas.
I thought you
Landscaping.
liked me a little bit.
I thought
Clearly you don't.
I thought landscaping shut down in the winter months.
Not if you're poor like me. I'll mow grass all year, I don't care. Blow the snow right off.
Wait, if I get some grass for you.
So you good?
Okay, I'm all set.
All right,
Thank
thank you,
you.
sir. You're very
Thanks,
welcome.
Jeremy.
Good luck.
And I'll come and see you, I guess.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
definitely. Thank
Have a
you.
good night, everybody.
Get it in
You
for
too.
December. Next
Get
week,
it
then.
pretty soon. Thank you.
I'm Laurie Perry, and I've been an Avon representative for 5.5 years. And I'm entertaining a lease on the property at 615 West Main Street with the intention that I will carry predominantly Avon, but other product lines. Avon's product line all on its own, if you're not familiar with it, is not only makeup and skincare, but jewelry and purses and clothes and things for the home and et cetera. And then I'm thinking of carrying a couple other product lines. Kind of redoing the business model where you bring brochures to 15 homes and there have a cup of coffee with everybody and take their $10 order and then have to go back 2 weeks later and deliver it and sit there and have another cup of coffee with them and that kind of story. I'm trying to kind of work smarter by having a location where people can come in and.
So this is right across from,
The old C21.
the C21, okay,
Yeah.
by Jensen's and across from
Yeah.
Smitty's.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the corner.
Corner.
Got parking space for at least 10 cars. I don't know that I actually measured that, but I would say at least 10 cars. And I will be leasing just the front half of the building. The owner still has offices in the back half, and I'll not be using those offices. It does have 2 restrooms, 2 half baths, one marked men and one marked ladies.
So basically, she's trying to find out, she needs to do a full site plan because it's not been a retail location in the past. This is a new.
What's the zoning of it?
GC. If I may, Chairman Tilton, the reason, I don't know if can't remember if I mentioned this earlier, the reason Al and I sent, or suggested she come tonight was, we have our change of use review form, we looked it over, we were like, this is really close. The one thing we sort of said, better check with the planning board on was traffic. It says will not have an impact on traffic, and we really didn't feel like we could make a definite declaration that this retail business will have the same traffic patterns that the car dealership or the Rhymes office before that. That was the only thing we kind of had a question on. Other than that, we would have said, no, you're all set, you don't even need to come to the planning board.
What are the business offices in the back conducting for business?
They're conducting nothing. He used to run a real estate business out of there. You're saying it was Century 21. He now
Is it
works.
Emery or whatever?
Yeah.
That's his name.
He now is pretty much retired and currently living between 2 homes in South Carolina and Florida, from what I understand. But he has maintained a real estate license and operating out of Mazzano. And but he never emptied those offices, and the building itself is up for sale.
So there's no active business being conducted there, because I was just thinking about the parking.
Well, it wasn't, last week you approved it for was a used car.
Used car.
Used car
Yeah, but
lot.
that never happened, right?
Well, no, that's
Well,
not-
it happened, but it just didn't sell anything.
Oh, I don't remember, I remember checking, but I don't remember seeing any cars.
Oh, there were lots of cars.
Really?
Yeah, you couldn't park, that's what it is.
Oh, must,
No, I don't think it's got an impact. She's gonna
I
go,
don't
they're
see
gonna
it
go in and out with the
having
light,
any traffic,
right?
It's gonna be a
traffic
big,
impacts.
I don't think, I don't think it's gonna be any more than Ryan's was.
No, I don't either.
Everybody, cool?
Yeah.
Well, cool.
You're all in agreement that she doesn't need site plan review? Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
Thank you.
So you can get in touch with Al and I whenever you're ready, and we can talk about next steps. But this is
Okay.
great. You should be able to move forward with the
Me.
timeline you were hoping.
Now I can go sign that lease? That's I didn't care without.
Yeah.
Smart.
Just in case.
It's still in, oh no, it's one of the biggest money makers ever.
I know it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind, but I wasn't gonna try to lease it. Lease it and then change my mind.
Yeah, watch contractual agreements.
Thank
You
you very
wanna go
much.
grab that, we can take a quick recess.
Catherine,
You should go around. Might be important. Yeah, you might wanna check that.
seriously.
Thank you.
The chief doesn't just call the chat.
I get pretty.
Di, we're gonna take a quick 5-minute
Okay.
recess.
All right. Thank you.
I don't know if you care about cameras or not.
Do you? Yeah. Okay. Also, just gotta remind me to turn it back on.
Another night that I was.
I didn't get it, I'm sorry, I'm tired.
It appears everyone is. Okay, next up, review of the September 26th, 2017 minutes. Additions, deletions?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
September 20th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Any opposed? Any abstaining? There we go, Mr. Valerie.
All right.
Workshop, workshop, workshop.
So,
No more candy for you, Judy.
no, yeah, I sent those.
I thought she was being
I
my
have them
cat.
here on my phone,
I will if you leave it
No,
be.
Oh,
Dolly, Dolly, Dolly.
Mr. Joyner. I was like, she's.
yeah, I put something together, I don't know if everyone got this, sorry. I'm not saying we have to start with this, but, Al and I have been working on some,
Below is a list of amendment.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I already have it.
Okay.
I passed it out.
here, if you want.
Oh,
Again, I don't mean to say that we need to start with that. Again, if you want.
You want to put the camera back on?
You
I
did.
think I did.
Okay.
Let me double check.
Sure, sorry.
Nice to start off.
Okay.
Well, Catherine, will you see that done? Oh, go ahead.
How do you guys want to do this? Do you want to start?
That's what I was just gonna ask
Here?
Catherine,
I
because
thought-
she's got so many tags on the stuff she's been working on. I don't know if you had
Did you
a.
get the email I sent? So I was wondering if you guys wanted to start with like the most hot button sort of issues, adult care facility and the sanitarium, nursing home, stuff like that. And then go on to more like mundane sort of,
Museum.
because if you don't, it defaults to whatever the common definition is. So, if it's pretty straightforward, then something like antenna or, cemetery. I don't think how much time you want to spend on that kind of thing.
Right.
There's definitely more controversial ones.
When I looked at the
So-
zoning regulations, what I didn't do the subdivision yet. I went through, and that's why all the orange tabs. And then I went through the chart of permitted uses, and I went, wow, this is like huge. So the definitions I handed out to you are just the definitions that deal with the chart of permitted uses. So I just isolated
Yeah.
Apartments, that one.
Yeah, like
those
that.
places, the one that says chart of permitted uses on planning board definitions. Yeah, and then you'll see in parentheses, like under single family apartments, condominium, multifamily, it says Manchester. So that's where I got that definition. And you'll see underneath it is another definition for dwelling, and that comes from New Hampshire RSA 48A1. So that's what I did when I took them from those kind of places. The others just came from other zonings. I didn't come up with the definitions, I stole them.
You stole them from where?
Oh,
She cited.
Okay.
Most of them I cited, and some of them I didn't, because when I came up with them earlier, I didn't cite it. I just thought of that when I was looking up these others. Because I've been doing this for a while. It just occurred to me, you know what? I should put down where I got the definition from.
Take your source.
So that's what I did. And I don't care where you want to start. I just wanted you to know what I did.
Or we can take the worksheet and go right down through.
School.
Some of these should be fairly quick, like school.
Place for children.
Is that on here?
I'll also offer, if you guys want to just go through that list, and identify which ones you think are priorities for developing definitions for, I could come to the next meeting with proposed definitions for all those, if you want to go that route.
I just have a question. Are we shooting darts here? I mean, is trying to hope that the definitions that we define, I mean, are there any definitions that come up fairly regularly that maybe we should tackle first? That,
Well, any definitions that come out of this, like if you go through with just using the chart of permitted uses, you're gonna go back to your definitions in the beginning of the zoning and in subdivision and make sure that those all change as well. So you're gonna change, so whatever you accept, okay, so if you go to my list, single family or dwelling, if you accept one of those dwelling definitions, you're gonna go in the zoning and change it in that definition, you're gonna change, there's no definition permitted uses. And then you're gonna go into the subdivision and see if there's a dwelling definition there.
Right.
You're gonna be consistent.
Yeah. And the subdivision doesn't have all, they're not completely identical to your zoning, and it doesn't have to be, because when you're site planning, you use zoning, site plan, and subdivision. It all applies. But if you've got a definition in there for, say, motor vehicle, and it's in both, you want to make sure it's the same.
Right.
Motor vehicle. I mean, so how do you want to do it though? You want to just go down this list or
Yeah, why don't we just start in, like
Start in
schools, let's start dig in and get this
Okay.
going. Did you have a school definition on your list, on the chart of permitted uses, Catherine?
No, I think I left the one that we already had alone.
Read that out loud for us.
Wait, I intended for this to be a list of things that are not defined yet.
Schools are not defined yet?
Right.
right.
Perfect.
So that's why we're doing this.
Well, I thought I heard Catherine say she was
It's
fine
not
with
in
what we
there.
have,
No,
but
it
that,
isn't in there. I don't know why I didn't.
All right, I've got
It's
one.
not in there,
You
so
got one,
that
right?
means the
You got some
definition.
Definition for school?
I've got them.
Oh, she's got one right here, go ahead.
There's a great site called definedterm.com that is it's legal, hard to find, let's see, a dictionary of legal, industry-specific, and uncommon terms, and it tells you where all these definitions are coming from, so you know. So like for school, there's 14 definitions. The top one is Virginia Department of Education. Publicly funded institution where students are enrolled for all or the majority of the institutional instructional day. Those students are reported in fall membership at the institution and the institution at minimum meets requirements adopted by the Board of Education.
How does the state of New Hampshire define school?
It would be the New Hampshire Department of Education.
Yeah. All right, let's see. That would be the place, right?
Well, that's why I didn't have it in there.
If they've already got a definition.
Right. Let's use that. That's home education.
That would be in their administrative.
But all schools aren't public.
Right, that's why I asked.
Yeah, and
That
all
was
schools
Virginia,
aren't.
that's why I asked what New Hampshire.
Right. Let's see if we have one.
do, again, if you wanna just say, give me some direction on these, and I
Yes,
can,
on the schools, why don't we see what
Yeah, we'll make it
Department of Education,
okay.
Okay.
because
So
they
all
must
New
have.
Hampshire related, but
They do.
give Dari that site you have.
I will.
Thank you.
So what I was thinking that maybe we could do is tackle some of the more controversial ones, since we can all look up school and find something, I think, that's pretty, it's not really that. I think we're all on the same page as far as what a school probably is. roughly speaking, but as far as like
But then
something
depending
like
on the zone,
adult
do we want
wear.
it to be colleges or, you know, how big a school?
Private, public,
Yeah, that could change
or
depending
dorm
on.
school, you know, there are all kinds of.
Well, there's probably a zillion different schools, but we're just gonna work on school, like. the
So if you wanna
broadest
start on the,
definition.
ones that cause the most problem, the dwelling units, like
Yeah.
for health officer, when
Mhm.
you're doing these housing standards inspections, they're causing a problem.
Oh, okay,
So
so,
let's start there, thank you.
all right,
So
we should get to adult care facility and stuff like that, though.
I've got that on here too.
That's under dwelling, she's saying.
But if you,
Yeah.
if you look at this, 48A:1, that's the definition of a dwelling. And I've got Manchester's in there.
All right, so this is what you want it to be?
Well, it's a suggestion.
This is your suggestion?
That's
Okay.
why I told, I
Yeah,
put down where
there's
they
three
came
different
from.
ones,
Like,
and then-
some-
Yeah, so one is Manchester's,
Right.
and they're very similar.
Appurtenances. I like the idea of it, but the, some appurtenances belonging thereto or usually enjoyed therewith. Can we make that like a little
Well, there's
more
3 in a row that are all
user
dwellings.
friendly?
Well, these two are, so, in the health officer world, you have a dwelling. Okay, like, that apartment building is a dwelling. And within it, there are dwelling units. Single-family homes and duplexes, but there are dwellings. It's a place where people live. And you can see that in Manchester's definition. For residential occupancy, including single-family, two-family, multifamily dwelling, but not including hotels, lodging. I kind of like theirs the best. I guess that's why I put it first. And then you'll see underneath the dwelling unit that more defines. So when I go into an apartment,
Mhm.
I look to see, is that a dwelling unit by our definition? Where it becomes a problem is a lot of the cabin colonies are now renting those instead of as transient dwelling units. They're trying to rent them as year-round
Right.
occupancy. And you walk in and there's just a big room and a bathroom. So you have somebody living in there and they squeeze in like, you know, giant bed, and the kitchen is like smaller than a third of this table. You know, so
Yeah.
to get to the stove, you can cook while you're sitting on the corner of the bed.
But does either of those dwelling unit definitions assist you in that?
Yeah.
Manchester one just seems like it's very specific.
The Manchester one is probably
Bathroom,
the,
cooking,
the most specific one, yeah.
and sleeping quarters.
Okay, so
But it doesn't say they have to be all separate, they can have a bathroom, a kitchen,
It could
and
be a
sleeping quarters
studio.
in the same room.
Yeah.
Just like what she described, that
Yeah.
could be defined as a dwelling unit, if somebody,
Well, private bath, so the bath wouldn't be in the kitchen.
Now ours, I think ours tries to be specific, but it doesn't really make it. Too much paper. Yeah, our dwelling unit is a building or portion thereof provides living facilities for one or more households and complies with all Tilton zoning codes. Health codes, Tilton Northfield Fire District codes, and all applicable chapters of NSRSA's Title 12, Public Safety and Welfare. Well, if you're gonna start listing codes, they've left out a whole bunch of them. And it's almost redundant because by law they have to.
Under these dwelling units though, like Eric said, if it just says containing a private bath, cooking and kitchen facility, sleeping quarters, that could still be a giant room, as long as it's got a separate bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Does that assist you under the code for when you go in?
To a certain extent, and I dabbled with that. If
Maybe private sleeping quarters?
But I don't think you have to have that.
Yeah, what about
yeah, so
studios?
ours, yeah.
Yeah.
So you run into that all over the place, and that's why I didn't, because then would you have a separate definition for a studio apartment?
And there's open concept going now that's big, so it's really fun.
Look at the mini buildings.
Well, I think the
So when I talked with Deputy Chief Tim Jabay about it, he said, well, there must be, and I can't find anything. And I said, well, you're the fireman. You know, if I'm sitting on a bed making dinner and it's that close to the stove, when is that a problem? He said, well, maybe there's another way of dealing with it. I don't know how to deal with it.
We just changed this 4 years ago, now we're changing it again.
We don't have to change it.
Oh, this-
These are just suggestions. But if you look at ours, and
So are you
maybe
saying,
this isn't the time to change them, but look at this, and then we'll come back together. But if you read ours, you'll see that they're not real clear.
Does it
so
say,
are you saying the one like you said, you just sit on the bed and cook, there's no fire codes that come into play with that over and above?
There's nothing that says a bed has to be so many feet from a stove. Anyway, not in this state.
What about the National Fire Protection Association?
NAFPA?
Yeah, do they say that there has to be,
No, they have recommendations.
yeah, but usually the fire department here follows the recommendations.
Well, they can suggest them, but if it's just a recommendation, you can't enforce a recommendation. So, you know, I've been trying to use
Are we running into issues with the current definition that we have now?
a little bit, yeah.
So what kind of wording would assist you in not running into problems?
Well, again, ideally it would be to have a single room. So here, for me, the best would be to have a single room for a kitchen and a single room for a bathroom.
at
The
least,
rest, it doesn't matter.
well, the
But
bathroom.
that's where the real safety issue begins. So if they can provide a single bathroom,
Yeah,
and then the kitchen is a single room, a separate,
yeah,
then it doesn't matter if somebody wants to sleep in their living room.
Right.
right.
But then how are you going to adjust that for studios?
I don't know.
Studios.
I've never been in a studio apartment, but that's,
They usually have separate countertops and
Well,
Well, usually there's only,
But
that's all there
there's not a
is
set
just
amount of feet, you
a
know.
divide with,
A countertop,
A counter.
with a little
That's
half
it.
wall at the end
Yeah.
is often.
But, Catherine, on a dwelling unit,
okay.
under Manchester, it says one or more rooms containing private bath, cooking, and kitchen facilities. Should it say maybe perhaps private bath, private cooking, and private, and or private kitchen facilities?
Yeah.
To be
because-
specific?
something.
Yeah, because.
Like I said, I mean, we can come back to it, play with it, and think about it, but that's the issue. The issue is the kitchen and the bathroom. If we could have something that says they have to be separate rooms,
Yeah, I think that's.
then the rest of it is not such a safety issue.
Right.
Wasn't that one covered, the Manchester one, that we just read?
Provides
Third one down?
independent living facilities.
No, the third one down. Dwelling unit.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So my only question is for rooming
Private
houses,
bath, cooking and kitchen facility.
Well, they have communal kitchen.
communal, but if we have a
Kitchens,
dwelling
that
unit.
is
Oh, I'm on
Right, but if we have a dwelling unit, that is a dwelling unit.
this one? Oh, this one. I
Yeah.
was,
Can we
was
tweak that one a
Well,
little bit?
in ours, it says.
one or more rooms.
Containing
So
a
it says
private
one,
bath,
so there's the
One or
thing,
more
one
households.
or more rooms.
That one
So
doesn't say.
one room could be okay.
one or more,
Yeah.
okay, containing a private bath,
Which the one or more households.
separate
Community.
cooking and
Yeah.
kitchen
You know
area,
what I mean, so.
something like that?
Yeah, put that back in. Something like that, yeah.
Cooking and kitchen facilities separate from, I don't know. Well, let's play with it. We don't have to do it tonight.
That's your main goal, right, to have the bathroom separate, the kitchen separate, and then the living area, whatever.
I think so.
But so what's the definition of separate? A half wall, a full wall, a countertop?
Separated by
I mean, you're getting into telling people how to set up their house, really.
So how do we do
I
that?
don't know.
Yeah.
For safety purposes.
I mean, but I don't.
So maybe there's another way to deal with
I don't
it.
think
So,
you can.
yeah, so think about
That's
it.
my opinion.
Well, we already have
Anyway.
that with a lot of our codes anyway.
And then the next ones after that get into the whole nursing, adult daycare, sanitarium.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
So we can move down there and then think about the dwelling stuff. Because I apologize, I promised Terry I'd send this 2 weeks ago.
That's all right. I've had plenty to do. We've all been.
He didn't have an
Okay,
opportunity.
quickly, do the dwelling single, two, and multi that we currently have, okay, or are these suggested? Because those shouldn't be too hard to.
These are suggested to simplify.
Okay, so we can look at those for simplification.
I have a problem when your definition includes the word you're trying to define.
Definitely.
So ours is, single family dwelling, single family detached. It's a single residential dwelling unit.
Yeah, that is redundant.
Mm.
Okay, so we'll look those over too.
Like two family, containing two dwelling units.
Mm.
Okay, hospital,
Hospital, I don't have it defined.
So ours in our zoning is an institution providing health services primarily for inpatients and medical and surgical care of the sick or injured, including as an integral part of the institution such related facilities as laboratories, outpatient department, training facilities, central service facilities, and staff offices. I thought that also defined a clinic in today's world.
Could have a clinic that wants to come in at some point, like one of those quick
Yeah,
places.
so would ours work if we just put
Yeah, so
4
like-
periods exceeding 24 hours?
I think so.
But we don't have a definition of a clinic.
And we don't, yeah, that was the next. We don't
Exceeding
have-
24 hours? It's only
Yeah.
24 hours in a day.
Yes, but it's gonna be-
Here.
Can only be
Some clinics are hospitals.
Well, you have like these,
Walk-in clinics?
Well, it's only a clinic,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
walk-ins.
yeah.
Yeah.
urgent care or,
Yeah.
But I'm saying some clinics are hospitals also.
Well, some hospitals have clinics in them.
Yeah, but some clinics are.
Not really.
hospitals. Yeah, in some places they are.
well, you have some of these. day
So,
surgery-
I think you have to look at what's the primary use of the building. Is the primary use the hospital or the clinic? So is it a clinic with a little surgical wing?
Well, look at OPA in Guilford, they have a day surgery,
That's right.
you
Well,
know.
the Mayo Clinic is a hospital. So, I mean, it's, I don't know, all I'm saying is that there are some clinics that are a self-contained hospital. That's just the name of it. But we're thinking in terms of like Health South Clinic or
Walk-ins.
that's a walk-in clinic, or Dr. Bayer's office, that's the Lakes Region
Well,
Clinic. That's what it's called.
Part of it, but she's not a hospital, she's just an
I know
office.
that's not what I said.
So, I think, we don't have a definition for clinic. So,
Just something better.
I was,
Sorry, may I, if, keep in mind, if it turns out that, there's no zone where you would want to have one and not want to have the other, then it may not be necessary to define, or let's say, to draw the designation between the two.
Yep.
But I can imagine you might want to say, a downtown district, you can have a clinic, but you can't have a hospital. So in that case, it would be necessary. And then, I think what Ms. Alden is saying is that we, in the real world, that line is sometimes blurry, but we could, in our ordinance, say, not here in Tilton, it's clear as day, if they're potentially gonna allow people to stay there for more than 24 hours, it's a hospital. If there's no possibility for people to stay there for more than 24 hours, then it can go in as a clinic and could potentially go into a zone where a hospital wouldn't be allowed. Something like that. And I can write something like that up if you guys want. Where there's, it says a clinic is kind of a mini hospital, overnight.
And, yeah, and it's not in our charter permitted use as a clinic.
Hmm.
So it is exactly as Daria is saying, there may
Yeah.
be places where you'd want a hospital.
Keep in mind, there's 49.
But there's places you might allow a clinic, but you wouldn't want something as big as a hospital.
49 types of healthcare facilities, so, yeah, maybe we should just focus on the purpose of what we're trying to define. And then I was kind of hoping we would abandon, this is probably ambitious, but sanitarium as outdated. Since nobody uses that, and they're not gonna build a sanitarium.
I think the only one I know of in the
Unless
state is
we're,
Glencliff. Really?
Making a zombie.
I think, isn't Glencliff our only sanitarium in the state left?
I don't know.
They still treat, it's still designed, it's still meant
Was a
for chronic.
sanitarium.
I thought it was like a
It's a nursing home.
It's an elderly home, but they have a section that is dedicated to,
But they don't call
it used to be,
a
it was built,
Well, like
it's called
dementia
Glencliff.
Psych ward?
It's
But
a
it was
psych
built
ward.
for tuberculosis patients.
Right,
Yeah.
so
And they still have a wing for
Okay.
people that have to be,
consider this, if we have TB that comes back, they're still not gonna call it a sanitarium.
Yeah.
I didn't
As
know
it's
we were in the
stigmatized.
business of deciding what Webster was going to use.
well, it's in our charter permitted uses,
Yeah.
so you're making a good point. Should we just eliminate?
Exactly. Go to the modern.
Eliminate sanitarium and put / clinic?
Right, I would prefer that.
Or do you want clinic and hospitals in the same
Sanitarium
place?
is,
Apothecary.
right.
There you go. I like that one.
I think we should have a top here. I like that word anyway.
So the next one is nursing home.
Go with all old-timey words.
Yes, just tonight.
Now, the state already defines it.
So the state already defines sanitarium.
I think you just have to blow up.
Yeah.
We're all gonna.
Oh, okay.
You took
Sure.
your.
Okay, we're just gonna go, but you don't, do you wanna eliminate it from,
Why not?
Yeah, that's what we.
oh, we are. Oh, that was quick, all right. Well, okay, I'll just take it out completely. I was expecting a fight.
Oh, there you go, sorry. We can fight with you a little bit, feel better about it.
Maybe later.
Okay, let us know.
Well,
Let us know when the time is right. We'll get on that for you.
And under nursing home is our favorite.
It's your favorite?
Adult daycare facility.
It's not an adult daycare facility.
But it should be.
Why should it be?
Because that, if you read the master plan, actually if you read both of them, and it, so what we just went through, and it defines rural agricultural area, that's what adult care facility is. And as opposed to a nursing home, an adult daycare facility, and there's one in Laconia, actually, there's quite a few of them around it. It is a place where if you want to keep your disabled or whatever, or elderly parent home with you, and you have to work, it's a place where you can bring them. If they can't care for themselves, and they'll take care of them for the day while you're working, and then you pick them up and you bring them home.
the kids.
But there are also places like Easter Seals,
Yep,
that's an adult care facility.
Oh,
but
during
it's
the
a
day.
daycare facility because they
No,
don't.
it's both.
So do they overnight there?
And some of the Easter Seals has sites
Okay.
where they do,
Well, then
in
that's,
Manchester.
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Farm centers, that's driving on
But that is an adult care facility.
But this is a definition to get us away from what just happened.
Right.
That's why you'll see
We also
pencil
have,
I wrote each day after, and caregivers, period.
right, and we have child daycare isn't right next to that adult care, but adult care is too vague, it's just, it could
Well, we
be
didn't have a definition for it.
Well, yeah, that too, but it's not a side. Yeah, anyway, so we still on nursing home, or do we skip over that?
Oh, I didn't know we were gonna decide on these tonight, because
Oh, I thought we were gonna,
you're
Oh,
just
okay,
seeing
we're
it for the
just-
first time.
just ruminating over it, okay.
We seem to be floundering.
Yeah,
I
a
think
bit.
Dari's idea is a very good idea, for Dari to come up with some definitions and use those as a starting point, and then make our changes to those.
Well, but some of these are already New Hampshire
Yeah.
RSA, so that's kind of a no-brainer.
We don't have
You
to
just
worry
follow
about
what the
those.
state
Yeah.
does.
Or else we wouldn't change.
So if it has a state definition, we're going with the state definition first.
Well,
Not always, because in dwelling,
yeah, you're gonna wanna look at those, and we can let, give these to Dari and let him
Do that.
do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm kind of just listening and jotting down notes with the, I mean, this is actually really helpful for me. And I'll plan on kind of, yeah, working these along for our next meeting 2 weeks from now.
I have a question on your communication tower and then antenna. What are your thoughts what were you thinking when you wrote that?
What's that? When did I write that? I don't even know what you, sorry.
It's on the
This
blank
one-
things.
Yeah,
It's on the checklist. Lodge is the top one. For your communication tower antenna. Which obviously cell towers were more of the communication tower.
Oh,
But
so
what was the
the,
antenna?
the worksheet thing?
Yes.
Why did I put it there? Is that, what, where is
Yeah,
that?
what
my
was your thought?
antenna.
It says.
Antenna, I think, it's, it's a term, and part of the reason is I went to NHMA law lectures, and there was one of the lectures was on sighting of, or talked about sighting of antennas, and there's actually, sorry, I need to do some more research on it, but it seems to be that antennas are exempt from certain land use permitting requirements. And so we need to make sure that people aren't just able to claim all sorts of things are an antenna, and use that to get out of
like a ham radio versus a cell.
some stuff like that. So it
What
might,
about-
and, sorry,
What would there's an antenna on top of the Episcopal Church,
yes,
It's within the steeple.
That's a
Yep.
cell.
but it's an antenna, isn't it?
yep.
It's a cell tower, but
But what's the difference between a cell phone
Is that
tower?
It's a communication
communication
tower
tower.
versus an antenna,
exactly.
Oh,
I guess.
So that's why we gotta
But-
straighten this out and have.
Yeah,
a
right.
definition.
I think what's in the church is an antenna.
I think so too.
Yeah, right.
Depends on how you define it.
I think it's a tower.
Well, hence
Ham radio
exactly.
is
like
definitely
Terry
an
just-
antenna.
Hence the need for
The
the,
tower might be,
It's an antenna within the spire.
what's that?
Tower.
the tower may be the height, the differentiation between antenna and tower may be
I
height.
don't think so. I think antennas go on towers.
So, for instance, you could have,
Although
if you drive down
you might be
some,
right,
like,
yeah.
if you, down in, I think it's the Pill Building down in, Concord,
Yeah.
there's some antennas
Mhm.
that are used in cellular communications along there. And you'll find that along other highways where they have commercial buildings that have antennas that are used for cellular communications. And then you also have, like, if you go down Route 106, I think it's allowed, there's a big tree.
Yeah.
That,
Good.
to me, that would be a tower.
Yeah.
Where if it's just attached to maybe, another structure, it may be an antenna, which would be inside the church. But if it's a freestanding thing, so I think, yeah, that it's an interesting debate.
yeah.
So it's
My
obviously-
cousin has the ham radio antenna,
My neighbor has.
and
a
it's
ham
higher
radio.
than it's taller than his chimney on his second story of his, he's got a second story house, taller than his chimney. But to me, it's not tall enough to be a tower.
My neighbor has one, I
But
just
I
see it.
think.
But you wouldn't
what
put that
Dari-
on a tower.
I think what Dari brought up is an interesting point, and maybe why we should have a definition.
For both.
Well, I think you need
Yeah.
one for both, don't you, Derek?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
sounds
I'll work on that. And
Thing.
one other thing I'll add that was, sort of mentioned in this lecture, if I recall correctly, is this is going to be a more and more relevant, it's going to be more and more pressing issues. They're finding ways to, sort of downsize antennas, where now there are areas where there'll be little antennas on every telephone pole. So, and if then it goes to little antennas on all buildings and residential buildings, and it's something we're going to have to be prepared for. So, yeah.
Well, people used to have television antennas, remember?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, so we
Turn the knob.
Hey,
cranks
some people
around.
still do.
Yeah, I still have those.
And I did include the state's definition of agriculture, farm, livestock, blah, blah, blah. That's like a whole huge section.
Yeah.
So for social club, fraternal club, should that, I would think that that includes the senior center. Would that also be in there? I mean, how does that fit in?
Well, that's another good question to look over and.
So is the senior center, our senior center is municipally owned, following that definition.
Oh, so social
So-
clubs cannot be then municipally owned, I
Well,
guess.
So,
Is it-
what are the, it's, like Conway has one, I just went by it, North Conway. What do they call those? So you go to town and it's the building that everybody can go into.
And the senior center.
Community center.
is in
And
the-
the senior center can be in there, and a place for kids
Yeah,
to be in.
community
center.
center.
Community center.
Okay.
So it's not our community center. Because other things take place there rather than the senior program. That's how I understand.
Do you have in here, Dari, just because we don't have enough on here?
Yeah.
Pinwheels, wind towers.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, the wind.
Good one.
no, all right, yeah, I'll look into that.
We
Well,
just
so-
had a, we
That's
just had
another-
a question come up about solar panels too in the
Yeah,
town
okay,
right
solar.
now. Yeah.
Solar.
Okay, we'll look at that,
Arrays.
solar.
Well, yeah.
No, wouldn't matter with the,
I only say that because we just have we
But-
have a facility in town that just put in solar panels.
But a professional, a commercial solar array.
Who did?
Than putting a solar array on your.
Yeah, it's not on the house, it's like.
And
the
also,
fields
actually,
or
up on, across from where we have the other one,
Oh,
the
really?
residents there put a massive
I came in.
solar,
There's a big one up on Autumn Drive.
yeah, that's the one.
What's it
I'm
called,
talking
what?
I'm trying not to name
Windmills.
the name.
No,
oh, the windmill.
Oh, we have a proposal in front of the selectmen for a solar farm.
yeah, I just wrote it down.
Off of School Street.
Suggested, just so I have a
If the
list.
state wants to put those in, they can.
Down between 93 and School Street,
And where's Sanderson going?
up on Tower Hill.
And some of them are beautiful, absolutely gorgeous with amusement parks for kids and everything. I
What?
remember the
Solar
selectmen's meeting when the guy came and talked. I looked up on the website, Kathy Mitchell, and I looked it up. Some of them are absolutely gorgeous.
What?
The sun gardens or solar gardens,
Solar.
just gorgeous.
Something about butterflies under here.
The little dragon and unicorns.
I'm kidding.
All right. Anybody have anything else pressing we should check through?
We should
Now
go
that we all
over-
have a bunch of homework.
We should go over Dari's list.
What
Yeah,
about amusement?
I mean,
We're running out of time for, well, what is,
The parking?
yeah, actually, well, let me just, if I could,
this is what,
be obnoxious.
What about parking, that seems to be,
Here's a,
our zoning,
uh-oh.
this is the countdown, basically.
Yeah.
And we are, here, November 14th. So we're going to meet November 28th, and then December 12th. We're not meeting on the 26th, as of now. And I'd probably like to keep it that way if you could. I'm sure you guys agree. But anyway, so essentially, 1, 2, 3, including tonight, we have like 3 workshops until, I think if we want to keep with our schedule and second and fourth Tuesday, we need to have our first public hearing on January 9th. Or we could move, we could have it, I think, on January 16th also. So we can fit in additional workshops, but I think we're actually in pretty good shape. When you look at the amount of paper we're all gonna be taking home,
And if everybody gets on
potentially,
it.
if particular me, if we all do our homework, I think we could come on the 28th, make some good progress, potentially sew things up on the 12th. Maybe, we want to talk on the 28th about possibly meeting on the 5th also if we need to, if things don't go well. But then, sew things up on the 12th, have our first public hearing on the 9th, and then, we're in pretty good shape. But yeah, I mean,
We got snow days
the
ago.
countdown has begun, definitely.
No snow days. Don't have to worry about snow.
Just, no.
But I mean, I'll tell you, as of now, I've got plenty to work on, I think, and still have a very productive meeting 2 weeks from now. But I will go through anything you want that I've handed out. There was an email I handed out where we talk about parking, but that's pretty well pulled together. We have the Manchester ordinance that I think folks are already looking at. And then, I think we do need to talk about Main Street. The fact that we kind of handle parking on Main Street on the fly, and that's maybe not the best for our citizens for them to have to kind of guess what their parking requirements are when they come in for a site plan review with a business on Main Street. Manchester has an area of town where they completely, they basically say if you're in this section of town, the parking regulations don't apply, and maybe we consider something like that for Main Street. We say, you don't have to meet parking if you're on Main Street. There's something like that. But anyway, sorry, I'm just blabbering now. That is Manchester, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time to make this website.
Chairman Tilton, do you want me to go over this quickly?
Does
Or-
everyone have an opportunity to look it
I
over?
mean, if you got,
And
I
be-
don't have to.
The parking stuff, and be prepared to, I mean, next workshop, be prepared to speak on everything.
But I'll just quickly call out some things on this. Home business, right now it's required site plan review, but it's so restrictive in the zoning ordinance that it seems.
Where are you?
Yeah, we're all getting the
Oh, I'm sorry.
below.
All right, so
This.
that's not this one then, okay.
No.
All right,
This one.
well, you said parking.
Yeah, I'm
These are the
I'm just switching.
proposal part.
Okay.
I got it.
Oh, yes, I got it.
Nice.
Trying not to take too
All on the
long.
same page here, literally.
Jules, did you take mine?
Of course, no.
Yeah.
Party on, sure.
But one day.
Yeah, we could one day.
So home business then, self-storage facilities, there's no line item on the charter permitted uses. I think it causes some confusion and forces whoever's sitting in these seats to sort of, we interpret it as if somebody, like what they put next to Hannaford in Franklin, the Tilton storage. We just said, okay, that's a personal and business service with floor area of 3,000 square feet or greater, but it seems to make sense that to have a line item that says self-storage facilities. And now I made some recommendations on what zones we might want to look at, but we can talk more about that next time. Parking, I've already gone over. Dwelling unit density, I think.
Stop.
Okay, sorry.
With the definition on the self-storage facility,
Okay,
because the
All
job box thing that we
Yeah,
just
right,
did,
right.
On my
that's a
box.
whole different animal of storage
yes,
facility.
good point.
So, yeah.
So those both
All right.
both types should be addressed.
All right. Dwelling unit density, I think we're gonna be talking about that with some of Catherine's stuff anyway, but I think, we need to look at specifically what I've mentioned here. Mixed use in village residential, says, if you go to charter permitting uses, it says you can have multifamily, but then if you go to the table of dimensional values, it says you can only have 2 dwelling units per lot, which is not multifamily. Multifamily is 3 or more. So we gotta figure out, how are we gonna address that? Certificate of occupancy, certificate of inspection, that's kind of we don't talk much about that tonight, but basically we want every permit that Al receives to end with some kind of certificate, so there's some finality to it. And that'll help him with his documentation. And then, number 6, we recommend that the planning board consider whether adult care facilities should be designated as not permitted in the RA district, so we can talk about that.
That would be easier than coming up with the definition.
You still need a definition,
We
and
still
you're gonna
need a
have it
definition,
somewhere.
Yeah. I know.
somewhere else.
Do you want me to just
Oh, you
keep
think I
going,
have it?
Chairman Tilton, or
On what?
on just stuff? Are we at that
Does
point
everyone
where?
have enough to work on for next?
Oh, we
Yes.
take me a little
Okay.
more.
Well, now I'm curious to see what more stuff.
Yeah, no,
Well,
don't keep us in suspense.
Al initiated developing this code enforcement and complaint form. I've got a few here we can take a look at. So this is on our website, on Al's code enforcement page, so you can direct people to fill that out and submit that, and it'll help us keep better track of complaints.
Can they submit it electronically?
They can email it to Al. I think it says on the form online, it says email to code@tiltonnh.org.
So they can edit this text.
What's that?
So can they type in, or, you know, like Adobe, you can type it in, or do they have to print it and email it back? Is it a fill-in form?
It's fill-in form, yes.
Okay, okay.
It's totally fill-in PDF, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Here, I don't think we should really necessarily talk about this stuff, but if you guys could pass these around, I'll give you a quick update on Planning Board Case 1704.
See a 70-page,
That's the case, the mother of all cases.
is that what you're talking about?
Do you want it on
The one I just saw?
Yeah, that's fine.
70 pages
No.
is, please, 70 pages.
Yeah, right.
Good.
You get that one,
A novel?
Oh, yeah.
Novel.
Well, a lot of it's
different.
just
It's lather, but.
exhibits, yeah. So anyway, case 1704, the 100 Autumn Drive, there's an appeal into the zoning board, and I've received word that there's appeal going to Superior Court, but I haven't seen anything on it. I was told by an attorney that sometimes when things are before the zoning board, the way the rules at Superior Court they don't send things out until the ZBA process is over, so he's thinking that, the attorney, I think that might be.
Which page on this one should we start with, this side or this side?
That's up to you. Wow.
Oh, I didn't know.
No, the other side. So anyway, those are some information, but also, you know, there's people have been calling and saying there was a statement made at the meeting that everything was going to be discontinued on September 28th, and clearly that's not happening. Very clearly that's not happening. No attempt by the applicant to hide it either, you know, it's just completely not happening. However, once something is, an appeal is lodged at Superior Court, my understanding is that the planning board's ruling is essentially stayed.
Yeah.
And so all recommendations I received from attorneys and, you know, just government professionals have been, do leave this alone for now. So that would be my recommendation, and we can talk about it another time, but, you know, it seems the proper thing to do at this point, based on all the advice I've been receiving, is to let these proceedings play themselves out.
So we just are going to let people do as they choose.
But here's an issue, because I don't want to see a business fail. Autumn Drive, he has stated, it's in the site plan, that as of, and is this the date on here, September 28th?
Yes.
Yeah,
All businesses closed.
yeah.
Right.
So if this now goes to court, there's no opportunity for him to derive any revenue from that property to survive.
But I think what happens is it says, the planning board decision is, you know, it's kind of held in abeyance or whatever right now. And so, right, I think, you know, there are probably other just common laws that say a person has a right to, you know, generate an income from his or her property, and that, you know, to say, okay, because the planning board approval is held, he can't do what he's approved to do, so you kind of have to say, well, okay, logically you should allow him to do.
Can't move forward on the new use.
Right.
Yeah, so the question is, does it stay the site plan action and then the old uses continue on? Because
I
this
think-
site plan is now just
They can limbo.
mute until it starts again.
Yeah.
Right.
So therefore, everything that was conducted during that is a no-go.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Being held in.
I can't claim to know all the ins and outs, like, you know, you guys have already asked me a couple questions, right, I think so, as opposed to I know so, but I can tell you that I think the gist of the advice is leave it alone for now, so. Just, going forward, I think Sharon Tilton says, we just don't let people do what they want. There are procedures, there's a process for a planning board rescinding an approval, and one of the reasons provided in the state statute to allow a planning board to do that is if an applicant goes against statements that were made. It doesn't just have to be conditions of approval either, it can be things they said they were gonna do. And so, in other cases, in a case like this, the planning board would have plenty of ability, also code enforcement officer, but you potentially would send an approval in a case like this. But I think, again, with the court proceedings underway, it would, and I don't recommend it at all. I strongly recommend against it.
I was reading, what do you strongly recommend against?
Taking any action to potentially say, hey, you said you're going to stop doing everything from 2080.
But he was gonna stop doing it in anticipation of the new business, and the
Exactly.
business is in limbo now.
Right.
So I
But they haven't
kind of
act-
see both sides of it, I
Just have
don't
a
like
website
it.
that says-
No, I agree.
He said he knew it was gonna take a year to develop.
But he hasn't they haven't actually filed their appeal to Superior Court yet, I understand.
That's not what I've heard.
Because we haven't been served.
Right, but
So-
again, my understanding for the reason behind that is that there's something going on with the ZBA, so maybe it's just cost, savings, where they don't incur the costs of what it costs to mail things out until they know it's actually gonna be a case.
So they're at the ZBA level right now, and if they don't like the ZBA, then they can appeal to the,
Well, it's not quite like, in some ways, if they got what they wanted at the ZBA, they'd probably pull their Superior Court, but there are matters, it should be, my understanding is that, so planning board makes a decision, someone wants to appeal it, if what they're appealing is an administrative decision made by the planning board, or an administrative interpretation of the zoning ordinance made by the planning board, that goes to ZBA. Everything else goes to Superior Court. So there can be, it's not necessarily a successional thing, they could be, at
so
the
they're
same time.
appealing the definition that we use, basically, with the ZBA.
What's that? Yeah, the adult care facility.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
That's what they're appealing.
Right. Yeah. Well, actually, no. Their appeal to the ZBA mentions that, and then it mentions that the planning board didn't explain in advance of its. You guys made your decision on whatever it was.
Defining adult daycare.
No.
No, what is it, November?
We didn't summarize
Right.
all of the objections.
Yeah, right. So,
That's what
September 26th, I guess it was. You rendered the final decision, and it was, just quick meeting, came in, made the motion.
It's my pocket.
Made the motion, and then so someone would say, well, the planning board didn't explain why it made its decision. In my opinion on that, I'm not sure I should share it at the moment. I have an opinion on that, which we can share at another time.
We're not on camera, right?
We are on camera,
Oh.
and we
We're still
can't
open
turn off the
public
camera
meeting.
during the meeting.
Okay,
there's
because
no
I
reason.
have something to add to that, but not right now.
Yeah, so anyway, that.
We should be careful about what kind of attorney stuff we're talking, because
Exactly,
we could be in
yeah.
a suit.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what does the board feel? Just allow Al to let it lay right now, or
Yes,
just
yeah, definitely, not a question.
everybody in agreement?
Yep, yes.
I'll abstain.
Oh, that's right, you're out of it, you're recusal.
I'm inclined to say ask the damn attorney, but I don't want to spend the money.
Hmm.
I know, it's not going to stop talking,
As
so
I
I
told you,
have to close it.
I received this advice from a multitude of sources, including, people, legal expertise.
Then don't bug them. I don't think it's worth it.
Do we have any correspondence this evening?
Yeah, thank you. It's kind of boring stuff, I'll just pass it around.
Oh, the rest of the stuff is just so exciting.
Don't tell.
So,
While he's finding that, does
Well,
anyone else have any other things?
I'll just pass around the whole folder, I guess.
Boring.
Well, you'll find something in there.
It's better when it's summarized for us.
Come in tomorrow morning and read them, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to now. Why'd you show me this?
I'd like to express congratulations to a member of this board being named the town administrator for the town of Thornton.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
That's really cool. Yeah. Whip us all
It's
in
exciting.
shape now.
It's exciting. It's a lot of
We
fun.
refer to Thornton as Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow, it is definitely a bedroom
We
community,
have an
right?
officer from Thornton.
I met him, he's still part-time for Thornton, because Tilton stole him away from Thornton. Because he's still part-time for us.
He was a prize. He was a good prize.
Yeah.
It was-
We
yeah.
had to talk with Chief Cormier about that.
He'll be a good
No more
officer.
matters. Yeah, it's a great little place, I'm excited. Nice. Thanks.
You can speed through there, we know the town administrator.
Maybe like Deborah who? All that'll do is get you a double fine. Increased fines if you don't, Deborah. Well, they're doing a meet and greet on the 6th
Also, we can go
of
there and tell
December,
the
so if you
truth
want
about
to come up, you're welcome, yes.
it. We can tell them.
That's a Wednesday.
A meet and greet, really?
Yeah, meet the new town administrator, yay. They have 30 minutes on the agenda for that.
Wow.
It's also the tree lighting ceremony too, so you can come watch and light the tree in the,
Are you before or after the tree
I'm
lights?
after that. We
So,
start with
really,
the tree
the-
lighting,
Jeez,
yes.
that's not right.
Pretty
This
exciting.
should be with that other letter.
No, it's all good.
Okay.
This one?
A long time up in Thornton. It's a nice community.
It was a nice little
Before
place.
that.
I like Thornton, I work with that.
Wow, poured lots of concrete up there. Quiet little town to be hanging around in.
Chuck Mitchell.
All right, does anybody else have any other business for this evening? We have a motion to adjourn
I'll
on the
second that.
table. We have a second. Do all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nice
Choose
job.
to abstain. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, we have plenty of homework.
Wait, did you just abstain?
Oh, we said does
Oh.
You said you're abstaining
Yeah,
on
I'm
this.
gonna abstain, I'm gonna stay here tonight. because I need to do that.
That's nice.
I wanted to do that for your.
Stupid.
I felt the
Poured